Hello, good evening, everyone. It is finally here, folks, the 2021 NFL Draft. And we are bringing you wall-to-wall coverage here on night one, and I'm super pumped to be kicking off the FlurrySports NFL Draft live stream. We've got a ton of stuff lined up for you guys. We're going to have different analysts and writers from the site popping in to share their thoughts on picks, break down what the hell is even going on. And, we're just going to kind of play it by feel. But kicking off the show with me is fellow FlurrySports NFL analyst. He's a big Cleveland Browns guy. If you follow any of his content over at the site, Justin Brownlow, how are you doing tonight, sir? Are you hyped for this draft? I mean, I shouldn't even have to ask that, but please share the excitement with me, right?
This is going to be an interesting draft, especially for me as a Browns fan, because the Browns haven't picked outside the top 12, except for the 2019 when they didn't have a first round pick. They haven't picked outside the top 12 in like 10 years. So it's been obviously crazy with that, and I'm sure you'll get to it. But obviously, more big news coming out just before the draft, so that should be interesting to say the least.
Oh yeah, it's getting wild and wacky before we even have a pick off the board. Of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars, kind of a foregone conclusion who they're going to take at number one. If you've followed any rumors or any talking head, even those guys know, hey, maybe a little teaser. We're going to kind of like try and look at some of the expert mocks and see who knows what ahead of this draft, and we'll see who has some accuracy. We'll kind of do some fun there. We'll look at some live betting odds. And like I said, all kinds of people from FlurrySports are going to be coming on. And speaking of that big pre-draft news that Justin just alluded to, Aaron freaking Rodgers is out of Green Bay. This was a story that has been taking shape all day long. If you've been following the action on Twitter, now I get it. It is Thursday. It's a work day. Maybe you weren't tuned into all those big hot shots. Heck, I was just out picking up some pizza myself, and that's when the news broke. So, Justin, do you have any initial thoughts? And then we are definitely going to be getting a popular man from FlurrySports on to break this down in just a matter of moments.
So I've followed the AFC because of the Browns, and I had no idea it was this bad in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. And I think the fact that it kind of came out today on draft day, he was really looking to get out of there as soon as they can. I know Zach will fill us in on some of the intricacies of things, but it's definitely shocking news. And whoever gets him, it looks like Denver right now. They're going to jump huge odds up to be a Super Bowl favorite. But it's crazy, and it's crazy that it had to happen like just today. Like we couldn't have had it yesterday when there's really nothing going on. It has to happen 2 hours before the biggest event the NFL has had since the Super Bowl. So it just makes sense for the NFL. That's why the NFL dominates headlines. So.
If that doesn't get you hyped for the draft, and also maybe thinking we might have a little more craziness to come this evening, boy, buckle up. You mentioned Denver, Justin, as we bring on Fantasy Flurry himself, Zach Bruner. You mentioned Denver. There it is. It's confirmed. The Denver hat is on. I am told that a bet on the Broncos to win the Lombardi Trophy at 50-1 has been placed. Might have to get on that myself while you break this all down, Zach. Please enlighten us. What the hell just happened?
So I guess it's not technically fully confirmed yet, but I mean, okay. I heard from people. Then all of a sudden, Mark Schlereth reported it, and then all of a sudden, Ben Albright reported it. Everyone's reporting it. Everyone has the sources. I believe my source is different, but she's also in the Broncos organization. Seems like a done deal. I'm hearing 3 first-round picks and maybe other picks. It's a big deal, obviously. A little bit. I know it's a little bit. I'm shook. I'm a Packer fan. I would say I was a Bronco fan, honestly, for at least half my life, though. That's why I do have this hat. Is just kind of tucked away perfectly next to my Monty Ball Bronco jersey. I grabbed that really quick. So now we're good to go. I see the draft's about to start right here. But yeah, with the Packers, with Aaron Rodgers, Justin, you talked about how you didn't exactly know it was so bad. And honestly, it's ridiculous. Aaron Rodgers gotten the cold shoulder. It's been a power struggle throughout the whole thing. The fact that not only did they not draft a wide receiver for him last year after he specifically said that's what he wants, they somehow maneuvered the entire draft not to take a single one. They somehow maneuvered the offseason not to take one. They somehow picked a backup at every position in the draft, and basically just to put him in his place. There's a power struggle there. He wanted an extension. This offseason, they didn't want to give it to him because they wanted to see Jordan Love play in the preseason first. That became a big deal. So now he's basically on his way out, and he is most likely going to be a Bronco, I believe. I have heard from everybody, and I have to think, boy, I mean, Patrick Mahomes versus Aaron Rodgers in the AFC West, that's going to be pretty massive. Pretty massive.
Yeah.
Judy, Font, all of them. That's a good team.
That's just it. I think my whole impression of the Broncos, right, has been there is potential there. They had a lot of injuries last year. I think at one point it was like 30% of their cap was on IR at one point. It was some ungodly number. You had some opt-outs. And then, of course, the quarterback position has been a revolving door basically ever since Elway came in and ever since Peyton Manning left. If this is in fact happening, like we said, it's not quite confirmed yet. I guess I jumped the gun there a little bit, but Zach's got the hat on, so I'm assuming that's about where we're at this point.
Mm-hmm.
This is huge, and the AFC West. I mean, you mentioned Mahomes, but Justin Herbert have a rookie year, my man. There are some quarterbacks in that division now. I don't know how much defense is going to be played when the AFC West teams get together. Denver, arguably the best defense of the bunch, probably right there.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the best defense Aaron Rodgers has ever had immediately as well.
Yeah. This seems eerily similar to Elway, getting a hold of Peyton Manning. I think probably Elway, when Deshaun Watson first hit the trade block back then, was salivating then. And I'm sure, obviously, some other things were going on before, but I'm sure he was salivating when he saw Aaron Rodgers' name possibly on his way out of Green Bay. So that's a massive trade. And like you said, putting the Super Bowl odds on them, that's an incredible IU because that's about to go probably after you place that bet. Did the odds go down right away?
I'm sure. I haven't looked at it now, but yeah, like you said, plus 5,000. I just put a small bet on it. I wouldn't consider them the favorites by any means yet. I think the Chiefs are still very much a tough out. But if I get in a position where I can hedge in the AFC Championship or something, best believe I'm going to do it. I'll take free money whenever I can get it. So that's basically my thoughts there.
And now if you look at the NFC with no Aaron Rodgers, it's kind of Tom Brady's to win again. Am I wrong?
Oh, no, you're not wrong. Also, look at the NFC North quarterbacks now, and that is the saddest group of players I think I've ever seen in my entire life. Is Jared Goff the best of the bunch? Because that's pathetic.
I think he's by far the best one. But
are the Lions in the driver's seat? What's going on?
Hey, that would be Brandon Staley was great for the Rams this year as defensive coordinator. It would be great to see him take off in Detroit. But yeah, like I said, I had no idea it was this bad with Green Bay. It looks like you have something, Trevor.
I 100% do. Last second betting. Zach, are you sure this is happening? Because I do not have NFL futures. I do have what jersey will Aaron Rodgers wear this coming season, and I can get the Broncos at plus 250. Should I bet every last dollar in my account on that or close to it?
I'd bet a lot on it. Is that the lowest odds, or is Packers lowest and then them, or what?
49ers plus 150. We've got Broncos 250, Patriots 4-1, Packers 550. The Raiders make an appearance in there. Saints are 9-1. The Bears 15-1.
There's no chance, man. Like the Packers aren't dumb enough. They're dumb, the front office doesn't know how to do their job, they're not trading him to the NFC. Like, that is the stupidest idea of all time. And if they really are mad at Rodgers, they're not going to trade him to his preferred destination, which is the 49ers. Like, it's going to be the Broncos. If it's not the Broncos, I would say the Raiders are probably the next bet. But I would say,
but we're saying
Broncos.
This is all but a done deal here, right? So
yeah. So I mean, it's been
just
pretty much
make more
confirmed.
quick money.
Yeah, I think that's a good bet. I think we're going to see the Packers drafting in about 8 picks.
Perfect.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Right when that word came out about that, like I said, I don't know much about it, but immediately everyone their heads went straight to Bill Belichick in New England. I don't know much about Aaron Rodgers, but it just seems like he doesn't necessarily have the personality that would fit well with Belichick. I mean, and I might be wrong on that as well, but it was more like Tom Brady was just. I don't think he always agreed with Belichick, but he was like, it works, so we'll keep doing it, so he put up with it. And I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is that type of quarterback. And he has every right to be whatever type of quarterback he is. He's probably the most gifted quarterback to ever play the game. So,
yeah, I think I would agree with that for both points, obviously. I think it might work in New England a little bit. The only difference is Aaron Rodgers definitely wants a say. He definitely wants power. He definitely wants influence over the offense. And I'm not sure how much influence he would have in New England. That's a place where it's very much know your role, play, just do your role. So, I mean, that's a little tough. And then going to Denver, I mean, with John Elway there and stuff, he's very much empowering the quarterback, very much the quarterback runs the show. We saw it with Peyton. Peyton literally did everything, including getting Adam Gase multiple jobs afterwards. Like, he's going to... Aaron Rodgers is going to be the head coach, the offensive coordinator, the quarterback, basically the general manager. He's going to do everything there.
It's going to be just a shocking, I guess, turn of events. Really, I feel like this kind of came out of nowhere in the last 24 hours to someone who is not following the Packers super close. Now, I know Zach and the Lombardi Sweep crew, they have been detailing for weeks. If you go listen to their podcast, just the lack of continuity, I guess the fractured relationship that has been in Green Bay going all the way back to last year. And I think even anyone just as an outside or casual fan of Green Bay, not even necessarily a Packers fan, can look at what they did in last year's draft. And, you can kind of understand Rodgers, why he has been upset. The Jaguars are on the clock here. It's still counting down. We're coming up on 3 minutes to go. Looks like ESPN is talking. I think we all kind of know who this first pick is going to be. Looking at the chat here just to catch that up, are we going to have this draft on the screen? Do we know that yet, Mr. Producer, who is also the lead Packers analyst, I guess?
What we can do is we can have like a draft tracker. We're not going to do the live video just because I don't want the channel to get shut down, which is a little bit of a worry with that. So with that in mind, I can show you how to put the tracker on once I get off, and you can click it on and off just to say, hey, these are the best available. These are the teams coming up. This is the possible trade scenario. We can definitely have that all hooked up. But yeah, if you want to actually watch the draft, why are you watching us? You know,
go listen to Trey.
So we kind of we talked about a little bit of the gambling on the draft. So with I assume this would mean the Green Bay would move up to number 9. I'm trying to look through a lot of the prop bets on it. Do you think the top 10 remains the same, or do you think someone else maybe sneaks in there because of Green Bay being the 9 spot rather than Denver? Because I mean, there's a bunch of parlays on there for like 5 receivers drafted. There has to be one of them on there that we could take advantage of with this just happening.
I mean, what's interesting in terms of actual draft order, so the Packers would slide right ahead of the Cowboys. I can assume, again, we are assuming the Packers do the smart choice, the right choice, and we're already starting the night off with a bad choice by trading Aaron Rodgers away. However, if we're at 9, I would assume the Packers go cornerback. Right after him is the Cowboys. The Cowboys' top draft need is also cornerback. we could see them flip ahead to maybe 7. I'm not sure. I feel like Detroit would be willing to move back a little bit for something else. I feel like Miami might be willing to move back. But in terms of players going top 10, I don't think that changes. I think that stays the same with this move.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Did you have anything else you wanted to throw in right now, or do you have to get back to work behind the scenes for a little bit, and we'll bring you back up
just
as we move
for those
along.
watching, also check out FlurrySports.org. Every single draft pick is going to be followed up with an article on the player, their draft profile, their team fit, what we can expect from them in 2021. Trevor Lawrence just got drafted. That's going to be announced. My article is going to be going up immediately thereafter. Somehow I predicted it, so it's already written out. So that can be a nice quick one.
That's right. When I say he's working behind the scenes, folks, he is indeed working, as are several of our other NFL analysts at FlurrySports.org tonight. So head on over, check out the write-ups, check out the player profiles. If there's a name you're not familiar with, you can get the lowdown on all of them as their names are called, and they embark on their NFL careers. So, Zach, thank you for jumping in with us off the top. I know none of us were necessarily expecting that, but we appreciate it, and we will have you back on shortly. All right.
Yep. Later, guys. Enjoy yourselves.
All right.
So obviously this is going to be a huge moment for Trevor Lawrence and Trevor Lawrence's life, and it's great and everything. But I'm scrolling through Twitter, and obviously he decided not to go to the draft, which is probably one of the. Someone tweeted the picture. He's sitting on the couch with his now wife and his parents. He just looks like the most miserable person ever. Like, I know this is so exciting for you, but he's wearing like a top or like really nice clothes. It's just like, it just reminds me of when Joe Thomas, basically the Browns ever here. The pick is in. You can announce it, Trevor.
Yeah, yep. He just got drafted. He doesn't look necessarily quite as miserable anymore. I don't know when that Twitter picture would have taken, but he is smiling. He's hugging his family. You know, that's kind of funny. I've always debated with different people, like if I was a top NFL draft prospect, right, would I be at the draft or would I want to stay home and celebrate with my family? And really, I would be picking exactly what Trevor Lawrence did. Family's always been everything to me, and I think it's cool that he stayed home and he hears his name called there, and you know he'll have chances to dap up Roger Goodell, no doubt. Looking at the talent that the Jaguars are getting in the future, so I don't think he's necessarily too worried about that. What do you think?
No, he's not.
What do you think about all the discussions about his work ethic and his hunger? Like, is he content coming out of college? I'm not so sure that I'm buying into those. I think there is a bit of a laid-back demeanor, but also I think in Trevor Lawrence, the Jaguars are getting really a mature, confident young man, and he might not just necessarily exude that confidence in ways that other former number one overall picks have. I don't know.
Yeah, he seems to me like a guy, maybe like a new breed of quarterback that's going to come into the NFL, that football is their life and it's their job, but it's not the only thing they love. And I think Lawrence is the best quarterback to come out since Andrew Luck. I actually think he's better than Andrew Luck with how much offenses have progressed in the NFL. He's going to be put in a position to wing 40 passes a game and complete 30 of them. But yeah, I don't buy his work ethic or anything like that. Those are all just buzzwords I think teams throw out as smokescreens. But I don't know if he necessarily is as passionate as some people, but I definitely think he still loves football, and I think he has no qualms playing football or anything like that. I mean, in the end, he's the best quarterback in this draft. He's the best quarterback we've seen coming out of college in the past 10 years. So he should have no trouble, working with Urban Meyer, who also decided to work out Tim as a tight end. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that was the other news today, is that Tim Tebow worked out for the Jaguars. Of course, the ties to Urban Meyer, they're from Florida. So who knows? He's a tight end now,
I'm
apparently, folks. He's not a quarterback. So baseball changes a man. What can I say?
Before I go on to Trevor Lawrence, I will say I've said it for years. I think Tim Tebow has some kind of dirt on Urban Meyer because Urban Meyer was the only reason he went to the minor league baseball. Like Urban Meyer looked out for him in every step of his life, and now he's like at the point where there's nowhere else to go, and he's like, all right, I'll go work out for Urban again. But that's interesting. But going on to Trevor Lawrence, so he's 6'6". He's got the frame everybody wants. He's 6'6", around 215 pounds. He's a lot faster, I think, than he's more capable of using his legs than I think a lot of people think he is. I don't know if you remember last year in the one of the semifinals versus Ohio State, he broke up an 83-yard touchdown run, and he was running away with it. His lead was gaining on people. So I think he's a lot more agile and mobile than people anticipate. But the Jaguars know exactly what they're getting with him. This was going to be the number one pick when he decided to go to Clemson. It was probably going to be the number one pick when he first stepped on the field as a freshman in high school in Georgia. So good for them. Good for him. I would like to see the Jaguars be good again. I was a big fan of Blake Bortles when he was there, but yeah, it's a good fit. And Urban Meyer, you couldn't have asked if you're Urban Meyer to your NFL coaching career. So
yeah. I don't think Meyer takes the job if he doesn't know for a fact he's going to have the rights to draft Trevor Lawrence in a few months. So good stuff there for the Jaguars. Like you said, it's kind of amazing just how they went from being in the AFC Championship game to being a total mess in the span of just a few years. You weren't the only one who loved Blake Bortles. I don't have to say that I love Blake Bortles. For anyone who listens to Flurry Sports podcast whatsoever, or follows the site, follows the action to know, Blake Bortles has a special place in our hearts here. Speaking of other teams who have been having some issues lately, the New York Jets been on the clock with number 2. Their pick is now in, I am told. And we all kind of know who this one's going to be, too, based on the moves the Jets have already made this offseason, trading away Sam Darnold to the Carolina Panthers. They are in position to draft a quarterback here at number 2 overall. It hasn't been announced yet, but that announcement, we are told, is certainly coming soon for anyone who doesn't kind of already know what it's going to be. Justin, why don't you talk to us, share your thoughts a little bit on what we are about to watch here, I guess.
I think everyone out there, we're kind of all at the point where it is Zach Wilson. It's going to be Zach Wilson. I have my own issues with Zach Wilson, but coming out, he reminds me a lot of Baker Mayfield and Brett Favre, a guy who Baker Mayfield was compared to. He's a gunslinger. He's going to make mistakes throwing interceptions, but he's a gunslinger. He's going to go out there. He's going to put it all on the line for his team, and he's going to be a good quarterback. Now, the fact that he's going into New York and a big market like that, I don't love it. Zach Wilson is not my second best quarterback in this draft, I think, but I don't think he's that talented. And we're just getting word. It has been announced. Zach Wilson will be going to New York with the second overall pick. So what do you think about Zach Wilson?
I think Zach Wilson has a lot of talent. Now, here is, I guess, what I've kind of been thinking during this whole lead up to the draft, right? So as a big college football guy, I watched Wilson a number of times play for BYU, and at no point where was anyone like, Zach Wilson is going to be a top tier, top flight round 1 draft pick. And the same can be said for some other quarterbacks who have been rumored to go in the top 5 or top 10 tonight, Mac Jones being one of them. Justin Fields was at one point probably the number 2 quarterback on a lot of people's big boards behind Trevor Lawrence. So the fact that Zach Wilson has been able to impress as much as he has in the lead up, there is a small part of me that says, is this a mistake for the Jets? Not sure. I guess time will only tell. I've seen comparisons in terms of skill set and athleticism and his ability to extend plays out of the pocket and his arm strength to a mini Russell Wilson. And, if the Jets are getting that, I could certainly see that. And you can certainly see where those comparisons come from by watching his game film and such from college. I think they're getting a great talent as he did just shake Goodell's hand. So Wilson has been in Cleveland. He's the first pick there. Man, it's nice to have him back in person. Although I am going to say I'm going to miss Bill Belichick's dog if that opportunity doesn't arise later on tonight. That was one of the best moments of last year. But, I'm excited to see what Wilson can do in New York. And, again, the other factor I think with the Jets, they're making a lot of good moves. I think Joe Douglas has a clear plan in place just outside of the quarterback position beyond the roster. There are, for sure, other holes they need to address. The other factor, of course, for Wilson is going to be the New York media. We've seen that eat quarterbacks alive in the past. You can argue maybe not so much Darnold being one of them. I think Darnold kind of ate himself alive. Never was a big fan of that pick. No. But Mark Sanchez.
Mark Sanchez, yes.
Yeah. He did not take well to that environment. So be curious to see how Wilson does. Coming out of BYU, that certainly isn't like an SEC school in terms of media. So.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit he's going to need to approach New York. He's going to need to have people around him because coming from that community at BYU in Utah, it's very different. It's very different from New York. But he should be able to handle it as long as he puts the right people around him and just focuses on football. And I will also say that with the second pick, Wilson was really their only option because, in my opinion, Justin Fields and Trey Lance and Mac Jones need to be in the right system. Trevor Lawrence was obviously the best one. He could pretty much play anywhere, and I think he'd succeed. Zach Wilson is the other only guy in this draft, I think, of the top quarterbacks that can kind of create his own offense around him. So I think they did the right thing there. I do think Robert Saleh is a great hire. I think he's the right man for the job. But the bigger news now after moving on to Zach Wilson is I think what everybody's been wondering for the past 2-3 weeks is what is San Francisco going to do?
Yeah, this is where everyone's been saying the draft starts, right? So we kind of knew what the Jaguars were going to do. We kind of knew what the Jets were going to do. And now it's on to the 49ers here at pick number 3. As we're working on getting that draft tracker up there for you guys to kind of pop on and off here throughout the night. At this point, kind of to recap, I guess, the Jets pick, and also maybe you get some insight into what we might be about to see from the 49ers out of number 3 here, a pick that they traded into. We'll bring in fellow FlurrySports analyst Luke. How are you doing tonight, my man? You got your Packers hat on there. You are in, it looks maybe a dark corner. Are you a little upset by that news that broke earlier?
It's misery, man. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we got you. Yep,
yeah.
You're here.
All right,
you are live.
It's fucking misery, man. Like this guy I've been just watching my whole life. I tried to tweet at the Packers at DM them. Don't tweet tonight because you're just gonna get me even more stressed than I am now because I feel like I'm just delaying the inevitable right now.
Yeah. So Luke, I'm Justin. I doubt you met me either, but so I kind of put this out there. Like I spent my whole life waiting for one competent quarterback. You guys had Favre and obviously Rodgers, but it's in a much different situation because you guys at least got to fall in love, and then you lost him. And it's worse than that. I am now just falling in love with Baker Mayfield, and I'll eventually lose him too. But yes, I definitely understand, especially because the Packers got so close so many times. Like that's just it's hard to deal with. So I understand where you're coming from a little bit.
It's tough, but at least we'll have some good content for a Lombardi sweep these next coming weeks. But
yeah, check that out. Every Wednesday, these guys are recording Lombardi sweep. Speaking of quarterbacks, Luke, what are your thoughts, I guess, on the first 2 picks? And then got to ask you what you think we might be about to see here from the 49ers before we let you break down the pick itself, whether you're right or wrong.
Yeah, so I'll just go quickly off the top here. I think Trevor Lawrence, I was listening to you guys talk about it for a little bit. I might even go a step farther. I think he might be the best quarterback prospect since Peyton Manning.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. I'm not a huge college football guy, but I'm a North Carolina guy, so I do watch Trevor Lawrence. I just can't imagine a throw this guy can't make. The 6'6" frame, I think, is what does it for me. And that I don't know how nobody can just be enamored with that long blonde flowing hair. You see, I'm trying to get it here a little bit, but
Yeah.
not to
there
the
it
point
is.
where he's got it. But
You're almost there. Hey, I've always said it. Trevor Lawrence is prettier than a lot of girls out there. So
yeah.
but yeah, I come go on.
As far as Zach Wilson, Justin, I kind of agree with you. I'm not very in love with Zach with him either. The big thing that I've been talking about on Lombardi Sweep is that I want players on my team who played in Big Five conferences. ACC, Pac-12, Big Ten, SEC, and ACC. Jordan Love was also in the Mountain West Conference last year. He didn't suit up for a game. He had 16 interceptions in the Mountain West Conference. I just don't think there's a lot of talent there. Now, I'm not saying Zach Wilson isn't a talented quarterback, but going from Utah to New York, I can't imagine is going to, help him settle into the NFL role at all. He's a good passer. I mean, he can make throws. You saw that at his pro day, saw that at BYU, but I just don't know. It's Robert Saleh, like you mentioned. It's gonna be a rookie head coach, rookie quarterback. So you got to think that they're gonna spend at least 4 years with them both. So if that develops into something, it'd be wonderful to see for Jets fans. I think he's just in a very tough situation for that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, going from a pretty sheltered community in Utah to New York, it is a real it's a shell shock. I mean, it's gonna be a culture shock for him, and I think New York's a culture shock as well. Trevor, you got the number 3 pick is in.
Yes, Goodell is announcing the 3rd pick now. Sorry, mental lapse there on my part. It looks like
You're good.
Trey Lance, North Dakota State. So we have our first FCS player off the board. The 49ers do indeed go with a quarterback here at number 3, as we ran out of time to get to Luke's, prediction. But we'll still let him break it down. Interesting move here. I think people were kind of assuming the 49ers were going to go with a quarterback. And Justin Fields, we talk about the betting odds with the whole Aaron Rodgers to Denver thing. Justin Fields really spiked kind of as the favorite earlier in this very week to go number 3 overall. And then reports were coming out saying, no, that's wrong. And we saw the market move again. And it wasn't too long after that Fields was, I think it was even money just to be a top 5 or a top 10 selection as he dropped down the quarterback board. Luke, what have you seen out of Trey Lance during his college days? Do you like this pick for the 49ers? What does this mean for Jimmy Garoppolo? Please enlighten us on what the 49ers, A, are getting, but also, B, what it might mean bigger picture for San Francisco. This is a team that is just a year removed from playing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So I'll just say right off the top, Trey Lance, I believe, only had 318 pass attempts in college. So obviously he's not that experienced. But I don't know if he could have landed into a better system right now than the 49ers. I'm very happy that the 49ers, not happy, but, just as a football guy, I'm happy the 49ers went this route instead of Mac Jones. I think they do keep Jimmy Garoppolo for at least a year, maybe 2, let, Trey Lance develop a little bit. So, I mean, Trey Lance, you're not going to put him in there right away. Jimmy Garoppolo, I think you roll the dice with him again, see what happens. But he's not really going to learn under Jimmy Garoppolo. He's going to learn under Kyle Shanahan. This guy is a smart quarterback. This guy knows how to carry play fakes. People are comparing him to freaking Josh Allen. I know, just like I said before, I only want Power 5 guys, but this guy was the best in FCS. And I don't know. I like it for San Francisco. It's the best spot he could have gone to. I think this is San Francisco's best bet. They don't have to worry about, the media getting on him, but starting the rookie quarterback right away. I think this will work out once they eventually move on 1-2 years from Jimmy Garoppolo.
Justin, any thoughts, immediate reactions, to you, to the Trey Lance pick as we see our 3rd straight quarterback go off the board here to open up this 2021 NFL draft?
Yeah, so I covered FCS all spring. I'm a big FCS guy, especially now. I got a chance to talk with the guy that's in the FCS media world, pretty highly regarded. His name is Craig Haley, and I asked him about Trey Lance. Obviously, I kind of asked him where he stands among the former North Dakota State quarterbacks like Carson Wentz and Easton Stick. He told me that give Trey Lance a year or two in the right system, and he is going to be the best quarterback in that draft. Or in the draft. He is miles ahead of where Carson Wentz was when he was coming out. The only problem with Trey Lance, and I looked to find problems with him because I didn't like writing about North Dakota State. I wanted to write about the other teams. He is incredibly good. The only thing about him, he doesn't have a lot of tape, and he left a little bit of a bad taste in people's mouths. The last game he played was in the fall it was an exhibition game for Central Arkansas, and he threw the first interception of his career. So he went 15 for 30 in that game for 150 yards and threw his first interception of his career. So it left a little bit of a bad taste, but I completely agree with Luke. He could not have landed in a better spot other than New England probably. But Kyle Shanahan is going to have him in that offense running top notch within 2 years. Absolutely.
Yeah, the thing is, they got Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, plus that outstanding run game that they have. Ease him in. We might see him a little bit at the end of the year. The 49ers, in their division. So it's fun for San Francisco fans to have Trey Lance in their team.
Yes, this is just a kind of it would have been funny if it happened, but I kind of view Kyle Shanahan as like one of the last coaches in the NFL that like he could do something crazy and people would still look like a Belichick almost. He would do something crazy and people would still look at him and be like, they wouldn't be like, that's stupid. They would be like, oh, what's he thinking? Right. So I kept hearing I kept hearing rumors that or just not really rumors, but he was going to take Kyle Pitts and just go double tight all year. Kyle Pitts and George Kittle. So that would have been great. But that also brings us up to the fourth pick, who I don't know about you guys. I'd be shocked if it was anyone but Kyle Pitts.
I will. I'll tell you guys too. Me being a Packer fan, also being a Bucks fan. Aaron Rodgers news. Giannis just went out of the game.
Whoa! How does that work?
So the
or you meant the Milwaukee Bucks?
What did I say?
You just said Bucks. I don't know. We're talking football here. So I forgot there's another Bucks. Maybe that's how irrelevant they are. But sorry.
Yeah, this is just how irrelevant I get when I'm on stream. But with the Rodgers news, and then Giannis Antetokounmpo just went out of the game with the rolled ankle, so the pain just doesn't stop for us Wisconsin fans.
That's horrible. I didn't see that. That would be this. If Giannis went down with like a torn Achilles or something, and I pray to God it doesn't happen. It has to be up there as like a Green Bay, Milwaukee fan. It has to be like one of the worst nights of your life. I would assume that would be like LeBron James just tearing his ACL, and then we never had another good team other than that, so that doesn't matter. But
all
yeah,
right, we have got to keep things moving here. As it looks like the fourth pick of the draft is in. Luke, thank you for joining us. We're sorry about Aaron Rodgers, but hey. We'll try and keep you entertained tonight, and maybe we'll have you back on, and we'll help you get over your sorrow a little bit quicker.
Hey, I'm confident. Don't hear what Zach says. Aaron Rodgers will be our starting quarterback next year. I'm confident.
Whoa!
Hey, just keep holding on to it until the last second. I completely agree.
Yep.
Hasn't happened yet. Hasn't happened yet, so it means it never is going to happen. So There you go.
Can't blame you there. Hey, we will chat to you a little more later on. Thank you, Luke.
Thanks,
Roger
Luke.
Goodell is heading to the podium with the Falcons pick. Quick reset here. I am Henry John. I am joined by Justin Brownlow. We are the 2021 FlurrySports NFL Draft live stream hosts here for this first portion of round one, and it is indeed Kyle Pitts, Florida Gators tight end, to the Atlanta Falcons. So that is our first non-quarterback off the board. Pitt's obviously an uber talented player in his own right. and he will be joining Atlanta, a tight end room that let Austin Hooper go prior to the 2020 season. Hayden Hurst came in. There was some growing pains, I think, there for us Hayden Hurst truthers among us when we're looking at it from a fantasy standpoint. But he definitely had some productive weeks in there. And man, looking at Matt Ryan's receiving core now in Atlanta, the Falcons are just absolutely loaded here. Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley had that breakout year last year. Some of us might have seen that coming beforehand. You're welcome for those of you who drafted him. And now you got Hayden Hurst, the tight end. You got Kyle Pitts coming in here. Kyle Pitts, arguably a receiver as much as he is a tight end. That's the level of athleticism that we are talking about here. Justin, any thoughts, initial reactions just to Kyle Pitts, the Falcons, this passing attack? Because it is pretty freaking scary.
First of all, I just want to say this is good for Packers fans. Not Packers fans, Falcons fans. I don't think they've really moved on from the 28-3 comeback win. So hopefully this could set you in the right direction. Personally, I had Kyle Pitts as the best player in this entire draft. Like I said, Trevor Lawrence is very, very good. Kyle Pitts has the ability. He could be Gronk times a million. He can line up in the slot. He can line up as a tight. He's a good blocker. And he's going to out jump, out muscle any cornerback, and he's going to be quicker than any linebacker. There aren't many safeties I can think of in the NFL that'll be able to stay with him. That offensive attack now for Atlanta is insane. It is going to be incredible as long as Julio Jones doesn't make like a terrible fall or they trade him away. But I think it's a great pick. And I'm sure Atlanta maybe tried to move out of there, but I think that was really their only choice at the fourth pick. If you aren't going to take a quarterback, you got to take the best player available. And to me, that was Kyle Pitts. So I think that's a great pick. He's going to be nightmare. He's going to be a nightmare for NFC South defenders for the next 15, 16 years.
Yeah, Atlanta, I think, has just been a franchise that, for a lot of people, has been marked with underperformances these last several years, really going back all the way to that tragic Super Bowl loss that they had to the Patriots. They haven't quite figured out how to rebound from that. And obviously last season, a tumultuous one, blowing leads early, getting off to a terrible start. Dan Quinn gets the axe. Raheem Morris, I thought he came in and really did a nice job down the stretch of last season. And we talk about it all the time. NFL draft is it's a night of new beginnings for these teams here, and so good to see the Falcons land quality player. We want to just talk about Pitts' stats a little bit more from college. Obviously, 2020 was a crazy year in the NCAA ranks. In 8 games last year, 43 receptions for Kyle Pitts at Florida, 770 receiving yards, 12 touchdowns. That was more than he had in his sophomore and freshman years combined. So even in a bit of a wacky season, not as many games played overall for him, still showing you his growth as a player and just what he's capable of. That's coming against SEC competition right there. When I'm looking at these draft prospects, these top guys, I want guys coming out of the SEC because, I can wear the Ole Miss hat all day, but it's the premier conference, so don't come at me.
Two things. People don't realize that when New England came back and beat Atlanta, it wasn't only Atlanta fans that lost, it was Patriot haters that lost. So I still am suffering from that loss. But Kyle Pitts, the stats don't even show the full story. He, I believe, missed at least 1 game, if not 2, and was limited in another game because of a head injury that I believe it was a head injury with concussion this past fall. So his stats could have been better. Like I said, he was the best player I have coming out. For how much he's like a wide receiver, he's still very, very capable of sticking on the end and blocking, run blocking, pass blocking. I would be shocked if there's pass blocking out of him. That would just kind of not make sense. But Yeah, that's a great pick, and at least you're giving. I know it's probably towards the end of Matt Ryan's career. At least you're giving him something this next year to be like, if you can't get it done with this, then we have like just cause to move on without you. So great pick, and I think that's kind of how a lot of people expected the 3 and 4 picks to go, except for Lance. I mean, going back to Lance, that I think everyone was kind of up in the air. It first came out with Mac Jones, and then it was like Justin Fields was all over. They were all over Fields, and then now Lance. So that was crazy, but at least we kind of know now what to expect a little bit in the next couple of picks. So I guess I'll ask you, with the Bengals on the clock right now, who do you think they go with? I know the big question is they can take Penei Sewell, who could slot right in at left tackle, and they can move over Jonah Williams to the right tackle, or do they take Jamar Chase, his LSU teammate, Joe Burrow's LSU teammate? So what do you think?
It's got to be Sewell. Like, if the Bengals go any other direction here, to me, you're setting Joe Burrow, your franchise quarterback, who looks every bit the part of the number 1 overall pick that you took him to be last year. You're setting him up for failure. He's got weapons. He has got Tyler Boyd. He has got T. Higgins, fellow rookie out of last year's class. They took him in the second round. They drafted him a weapon early in arguably one of the deepest wide receiver classes of all time last year. That's not a concern here whatsoever. What is a concern is that offensive line, because Burrow last year was getting killed. It's almost amazing to me that he lasted as long as he did, and ultimately he did get killed with the knee injury that cut his year short. That came against what, for my money, you could say is one of, if not the best defensive fronts in the NFL in Washington. They were the ones who ultimately did it to him. But you're going to have to go through very good defenses if you are going to legitimately contend, which is something the Bengals haven't done in a while. Truth be told,
they made more playoffs than Browns have in a while. So I don't know.
Yeah, and how many playoff wins have they? The Browns have more playoff wins, I think, than the Bengals do. And gosh, probably my lifetime. It's one and done all the time.
It was like the same game for like 3 years in a row. The wild card playoff game between the Bengals and the Steelers, or the Bengals and the Ravens. And it would just end up being a bloodbath, and like they would all just hurt each other. But I completely agree with you. I would go with Penei Sewell. He's by far and away the best offensive tackle in this draft. But I don't think they go that way. I think Sewell falls another couple.
Really?
I think they go with Jamar Chase. I agree. And had I woken up this morning and read, I really respect McShay and Kuiper, especially for their top 10 selections, because they're usually on point with that. And they both went with Jamar Chase, which surprised me. I'm with you. You protect that quarterback for as long as you can, because the AFC North, not really the Browns, but they're known for good defenses, and they'll be able to – oh, there it is. Go ahead.
If Roger Goodell actually says this,
I think it is.
I mean, what are you doing, man? What are you doing, Jamar Chase? Are you kidding me? Sewell is that good of a tackle where even I, who am not going to sit here by any means and proclaim to be an offensive line expert, I know he's that good. The fact that he is still on the board as we go to number 6, holy cow, as the Cincinnati Bengals pass over the protector that they desperately needed for Joe Burrow last year, and they are going to instead go with Jamar Chase out of LSU. Not to take anything away from Jamar Chase, we both agree he is an awesome player, supremely talented. Talk about scary passing attacks with Atlanta. Well, Cincinnati has got a scary one of their own, but that is if Burrow has time to get the ball out. Oh my goodness. Bit of a surprise here, but you were right. Mel and Todd on it here so far with that in the top 10. So that's a surprise though for me, for sure, when I look at the team's needs.
It seems like that's the way a lot of teams with young quarterbacks are looking to do, which is backwards in my opinion. I think you get the quarterback and then to build the line and to build outwards rather than
You
get the
build the team
quarterback.
inside out. That's how you build a winning football team. If you have a, shall we say, like a strong offensive line, if your offensive line is your strong suit and your defensive line is really freaking good, look at Washington. What did Washington have offensively last year that had anyone thinking they were going to be anything? That defensive line is an absolute game changer with the guys that they add Chase Young through the draft to that defensive front, put him up there with guys like Montez Sweat and whatnot. And Washington's a playoff team. Yes, I know they were in a terrible division. Yes, I know they finished a game below 500. They won their division. When it boils down to it, and the Bengals are going the complete opposite way here. I have a hard time with this pick. I'm going to be completely honest.
I don't dislike it as much as you do, but I definitely don't agree with it. I think they should have gone with Sewell. But like I said, I think that's the way NFL teams are thinking these days. I hope that wasn't to try and like appease Joe Burrow to make him like Cincinnati more. But yeah, apparently the other pick is in too. Dolphins pick is in, so they must have known that right away.
Well, it's funny. Jamar Chase is gone, and the rumors I've been seeing throughout the week here with Miami is that they were more interested in Jalen Waddle. Fellow wide receiver out of Alabama at number 6 overall. Seeing that they were probably going to take him over Chase if it came down to a choice between the two, which, if the Bengals had done, I think, what they were supposed to do there, it would have. But at any rate, Dolphins still have their guy on the board. If indeed Waddle is their target, they need to get receivers. Of course, Ryan Fitzpatrick's no longer in Miami. Tua Tagovailoa, I think he showed he's a work in progress. We'll see kind of where it all goes here with Miami. If you see them going with a surprise here, Justin, where do you think Miami's drafting otherwise if it's not indeed Waddle or a receiver?
Well, like you said, I think Miami has – I think the Cincinnati not taking Sewell – let me collect my thoughts for a second. Sorry. No, I'll go back to it. It would be I would think they have to go with Waddle here. But once again, I'd take Sewell. I guess I just don't get it. Like if I was Miami, I would have been like crossing my fingers, hoping that Cincinnati would go with Chase. Like that seems like a perfect thing. You got to protect Tua. Like I don't know. But yeah, I do think they go with the receiver, and that if they go with Waddle, that would be very disappointing to me because I think a lot of Tua Tagovailoa's struggles last year, and you heard a million people say it. It was that he was looking for his receivers in the NFL to get Alabama wide open, and that just doesn't happen in the NFL. So I don't agree with that. Carolina's got to be salivating too now. I mean, they'd love to pick up Sewell. I think they were going to go with Slater if Sewell's off the board. So, yeah. But speaking of Waddle, a lot of people forget that he was the best Alabama prospect receiver in the beginning of the year. He was rated a lot higher than Devonta Smith, and Devonta Smith had to do what he did. But Jalen Waddle, I think the biggest X factor with him is he brings a new element to the return game. He can return kicks, return punts, which adds a whole nother dimension to what they can do with him. So,
yeah, to your point about Sewell, this is definitely an offensive line that can use some more work. Now they have been making adjustments from last season to this season. Of course, they drafted Austin Jackson last year. Solomon Kinley, a newcomer, as we head into 2021, a change of the guard at center. Matt Squirrel is going to take over there. And then you've got Robert Hunt moving from right tackle to right guard. Jesse Davis would be the right tackle as of now. But I think when you have a guy like this fall to you, you're you're looking at an opportunity to boost that offensive line and protect the Dolphins franchise quarterback, which we can, kind of debate back and forth whether Tagovailoa is quite up to snuff with Burrow in terms of being a franchise quarterback. Definitely had some concerns about him. A little bit surprised maybe even that Miami took him almost last year. The pick is in, and it is, in fact, Jalen Waddle. So Penei Sewell continues to fall down the draft board here, a guy who you look back, Justin, at some mocks from a couple months ago, and he was going number 2. So this is interesting for sure. We're seeing quarterbacks and we're seeing playmakers, offensive playmakers, dominate the draft board here. 3 QBs, all 3 of the first 3 picks, quarterbacks, and now we've got a tight end / receiver in Kyle Pitts and 2 more receivers out of the SEC. Jalen Waddle to the Dolphins. We just talked about him quite a bit, and I wanted to follow up your points there. He was, in fact, the more hyped Alabama receiver. Injuries really slowed him down last year. He missed several games, clearly wasn't 100%, even in the national championship game. There was doubts as to whether he would even play. I believe he missed the playoff semifinal entirely for the Tide, but when he was out there, he proved to be a difference maker. And we do have our next guest is ready to join us here. FlurrySports, NFL, and he's the new king of MLB power rankings this week too, because he was so confident in them. He said they're better than ESPN's right in the title, and man, I think the people agreed with you. Mr. Trevor Land also co-hosts the Lombardi Suite Green Bay Packers podcast. How are you doing tonight, sir? As we just saw the Dolphins have their pick, we're excited to pick your brain a little bit here next.
Yeah, it's good. I think my whole outlook will be much better once the Packers situation is resolved, one way or another. But yeah, no, interesting pick for the Bengals. If I just jump right in right here,
Go for it, because we were surprised ourselves.
Yeah, this is a head scratcher for me. I mean, this offensive line is maybe the worst I have seen in a long time. Obviously, you have no offensive line. Not only can you not pass, you cannot run the ball either. So they get a great wide receiver 1. That's fantastic. But Joe Burrow got hurt. A lot of that I would put on the offensive line. They could not protect him. It's great to have weapons like this, but man, let me tell you, if you don't have time to throw, if you don't have time to get it to the weapons, if you can't establish a run game, all that means really nothing. So I don't understand this pick at all if I'm a Bengals fan.
Well, yeah, we were talking about building teams from the inside out, Trevor, and that is exactly the opposite of what the Bengals are doing at this point. I mean, I kind of look at the Falcons maybe under a similar light, but that offensive line is at least competent. The Cincinnati's was not last year. We talked about how, it was amazing to see Joe Burrow last as long as he did, and you finally run into a wrecking ball defensive front in Washington, and he's done. So it made no sense to either of us either. And now we have Jalen Waddle going off the board here at number 6 to the Dolphins, and Sewell continues to fall. This is a guy who in mock drafts, you look back January, February, end of the college season, he's going number 2 overall. So this is interesting to see this play out, because the Dolphins' offensive line, if you want to jump into that pick a little bit too, I think, we both agreed that they could stand to make some more improvements as well.
Yeah, they definitely could. And for the Dolphins too, I mean, this also doesn't make a whole lot of sense either, because they have Will Fuller. They just signed him this offseason. They also have Devontae Parker, who did very well until he got hurt, if I'm not mistaken. Preston Williams looked good until he got hurt too. So, cool, you have a third receiver. But again, like you said, you can't protect the quarterback, especially a guy who has had injury concerns like Tua Tagovailoa. What are you going to do? Especially in this division, the Bills are going to come at you. The Patriots are going to have their guys back. They're going to come at you.
Even the Jets, I would argue, with Saleh coming in, he's a defensive-minded coach. They'll be bringing pressure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And now they have a good quarterback, right? So they don't, they're going to be putting up points, so you need to score too.
Yeah, and kind of backing off what you said about the AFC, not the AFC East. I mean, you got to look at the guys that Joe Burrow is going to be facing twice a year. I mean, T.J. Watt, now Jadeveon Clowney, and Myles Garrett. Those definitely aren't good fronts or easy fronts to go face to face with. So I completely agree. I thought Sewell, he was by far the best tackle prospect. Rashawn Slater kind of picked up at the end, but I can't believe he's falling this far. I gotta think that the fall ends at 8 with Carolina. I don't. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It seems like that's the way that offenses are heading in the NFL, is that they're going to get their quarterback and they're going to try and build outside in. And unless you have a guy like Patrick Mahomes, it doesn't work that well. So it's not shocking to me, I guess I would say, but it doesn't make sense all the same.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, there are some really good wide receivers you can get in the second, third, fourth round. That's not really the case with offensive linemen. Obviously, there are going to be guys that are going to become good out of those slots, but I mean, like you said, Sewell is an absolute monster. You're not going to find anybody even close to him in the second round, so just kind of head scratcher when you could have something close to that. You take wide receiver instead, I guess.
Yeah, and
What do you?
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Justin. Do you have something else quick?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, Sewell's good enough where he could slide into the right side or the left side pretty easily. So it's not like if you're Sewell reminds me a lot of, not necessarily his play or anything, but it reminds me of Tristan Wirfs going into Tampa Bay last year. Like, I think he's going to either slide into the right tackle or the left tackle and be dominant from day one. And wow, I think that's a big. You can announce it, but I think that's a big pickup for Detroit.
Yeah, so he falls all the way to the Lions, and the Lions are getting themselves a stud, if you will, at the tackle position. Trevor, I know you are working hard behind the scenes on a whole bunch of articles that are going up on FlurrySports.org tonight. So be sure, if you want to read more about these players, more about the picks themselves, how these guys fit in with their new NFL teams, be sure to head over to FlurrySports.org. There's literally an article going up for every single pick here in round one tonight. But before you hop off, quick thoughts on Sewell. You know, we've already obviously been talking about him a whole lot here, and now he's with the Lions. Kind of a new era in Detroit as they're tearing it down. We're going to see how this rebuild goes, how quick the rebuild goes. Is Jared Goff going to be an answer there? Not really sure, but Detroit's not going to be taking the quarterback here in the top 10 of this draft, and I think rightfully so. When you look at the names still on the board, with Sewell falling to them, I like this pick for Detroit. And here, maybe we finally see a team building inside out. But your quick thoughts?
Yeah, maybe. Quick thoughts for me is, hey, the time is not now to draft a quarterback. They're going to be rebuilding. They're in the start. They haven't really progressed, but offensive lineman like this guy's going to be around for a while. I have a good feeling. Get that offensive line set. They'll be able to build out, like you said. This is a good start for the Lions, and they really needed this, real refreshing. And so with that, boy, seeing the Detroit draft room, they're looking pretty dang happy, and I would be too. But, hey, with that, you guys are doing a great job. Keep it up. And
Trevor,
catch you guys later.
I just wanted to say one thing. You have the most calming voice in the entire world. I was wondering if I could call you before I go to bed every night so you could read a story to me.
Hey,
I'm serious. You have the most calm voice in the entire world.
Hey, go for it. I'll tell you what. If Aaron Rodgers gets traded, or depending on what happens with the pick, you might not want to hear the voice. It won't be as calm. But hey,
in the future, yeah. I'll look forward to it.
Hey, in the future,
thanks.
Let's go for it. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.
Thank you, Trevor.
Thanks, Trevor.
All right, so that right there. Yes, he has a calm voice, but that is a man who knows how to rebuild a football team, starting from the inside out. Saying that this is a refreshing pick for the Lions. Indeed, it is. You can go draft a quarterback next year. You're going to be bad this year. You're going to have a high draft pick again. there are going to be more opportunities to draft quarterbacks. There are going to be other opportunities to acquire quarterbacks, be it via trade of a high draft pick that they might earn this year. Love this pick for the Lions. Kind of fell gift wrapped it into their hands because we didn't expect Sewell to still be on the board. But as Carolina has just over a minute to make their pick. Any other thoughts you had on Detroit here?
I mean, if you're Detroit, you're thanking heavens. I mean, you have your Hall of Fame left tackle just fall into your hands. So, I mean, that's incredible. I mean, I'm sure fans aren't like clamoring.
All right.
Well, I mean, you know what? Like that, like you have your staple at left tackle for now for the future. I mean, I always look at when you draft a left tackle early. I always think of Joe Thomas because of the Browns and everything. So, if you're Detroit, you're happy. Fans are probably going to say, "Oh, we would have seen Waddle." Detroit fans, I said the same thing when they drafted Joe Thomas. You're going to thank them about 2 or 3 years from now when Sewell has played in like 75 straight games and been way above average left tackle. But I think the biggest question here now is with so we have Detroit. They took Sewell. Then we have Carolina. And then do we know if is Green Bay have the 9th pick or does Denver still have the 9th pick? Do we know if anything's been official?
Well, it wasn't official as the time we started when Zach was on here breaking it down, but he was pretty adamant that it was all but a done deal, even from a source within the Broncos that he had telling him as much. As of now, it still is the Broncos on the clock at number 9. So is that going to be the moment where we finally hear that this trade goes through, or is Luke right to be confident that maybe we will see Rodgers back in Green Bay in a Packers uniform next year? I don't know, but I'm excited to find out. That is for sure. There have also been a lot of trade rumors being floated around here. This number 8 pick that the Panthers currently own. I've seen New England was laying the groundwork to try and jump up here. I've seen a couple other teams who potentially were going to hop into the top 10 at this number 8 spot, and the Panthers being willing to trade back, given that they traded for Sam Darnold with the Jets here. So maybe reaccumulating some of those draft picks for the future as well. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what plays out here. It looks like the Panthers did make the pick. So we'll see, I guess, who they're bringing on board. But go ahead.
Just real quick. So I guess we're going to assume that Green Bay has the 9th pick now. So the big word was we're going to have 5 quarterbacks taken in the top 10. And if looking at it right now, you have Carolina at 8. I would doubt they take a quarterback, but I don't think they're out of the running for it because they have Sam Darnold. 9 Green Bay. I don't know, but I think you'd probably rather stick with Jordan Love, the guy who you drafted last year in the first round. But I guess I don't know. And then at 10, you have the Cowboys who just re-signed Dak Prescott. So it's very possible that we could get out of the top 10 with only 3 quarterbacks being taken. And I know we had heard people start you had said New England looking to trade up. New England's not going to trade up. This is a nightmare scenario for New England haters. Mac Jones or Justin Fields is going to fall into Bill Belichick's lap just because he waited it out, and it's going to be terrible. But I think the bigger story here is I don't think we're going to see all 5 go in the top 10. And I guess it was kind of trending towards that way as we came through the day. But I think that all depends on now that Sewell's gone. I think we have a little better kind of preview of where we think the draft will head in the next couple of picks.
Well, did you see this coming? Carolina has officially drafted J.C. Horn, cornerback out of South Carolina. So they are going defense. Of course, last year, everyone was talking. Matt Rule comes in, and what did the Panthers do? They draft all defensive players. Every single pick they had in last year's draft was on the defensive side. Well, the first one here in 2021 is also a defender. This guy's good. So your immediate reactions, and then I can jump into a little more on J.C. Horn.
I've been a J.C. Horn guy since day one. Back when he was supposed to go in maybe the second round or the 20s, I kind of focused in on him at 26. I was like, I want him. He has been climbing up draft boards since for 2 months now. I think he is the best corner coming out. People question his ball production, but that also is because people didn't throw to his side of the field for 90% of the time. I love the pick from Carolina. I can honestly say I think Carolina fans are going to hate it, but in J.C. Horn, you're getting a guy who has the size, speed, the intelligence, and he has Pro Bowl blood in his body. So I think that's a great pick for Carolina, and that leaves Surtain on the board. And once again, this is all trending upwards for all the cornerbacks to be gone by pick 16. So the Browns have to draft a wide receiver at 26. So
yeah, interesting to see Horn go ahead of Surtain. I think that was kind of what a lot of people were considering to be a layup, that he would be the first corner off the board, and it's not to be. Like you said, though, this guy has got Pro Bowler written all over him in terms of talent. 6'1", 205 pounds, coming out of South Carolina. You know, you look at his 2020 stats and you go, is he really that good? 16 total tackles, 10 of them solo, just 2 interceptions, 6 passes defended. It goes back to a point Justin already said. Guys just weren't throwing at him. And when the one player who did try to throw at him, which was Bo Nix, it didn't go so well for him. Let's just say that if you watch any highlights. So,
well, let's be honest. Let's be honest. You're in good shape if you're a defensive back and Bo Nix is throwing to you, because it means he's probably actually throwing to you on the defense.
Touche. Very, very, very true. But the one guy who did challenge him, he didn't make out so well. Looking at J.C. Horn a little more, there are NFL bloodlines. He's the son of Joe Horn, who was a 4-time Pro Bowl wide receiver. He's got size. He's got length. He's disruptive in passing lanes. I mean, what more, I guess, can Carolina look for when you're trying to bring in a shutdown corner? This guy has all of the tools. Maybe his size and physicality are sort of concerns when it comes to off coverage. Also, that was in college. Now you're going up to the NFL, where players are just going to be a little bit bigger in general. And I know he's in the SEC, and I'm not talking down about the SEC. I'll never do that. But it's I like the fit. I like what Carolina's doing. You know, offense wins games, defense wins championships. Carolina they're on the right path here as far as a rebuild. Maybe not so much trading for Sam Darnold as part of that rebuild, but it'll get there sooner than later, I think, with what Matt Rule and company are doing down there in Charlotte.
Yeah. Once we got closer to the draft, it became apparent that J.C. Horn was only going to go to certain teams, basically teams that run heavily press man, because that's where he does his best work. He's physical. He is strong. He likes to engage receivers right at the line of scrimmage. The fluidity with his hips, how his hip moves, it's insane. I've never seen anything like it. But he's going into the right fit. And even though I thought he was the best corner coming out, I did not expect him to be picked before Surtain. But I think you'll have whoever makes this 9th pick. I guess we don't know who it's going to be, whatever. But I think then at 10, the Cowboys go straight with Surtain, and your top 2 corners are off the board. And then it could be a free fall until the next corner. But J.C. Horn, I love him. Loved him since day one. He has the quickest hips. He has that quick twitch that corners. You love your corners to have, and he's a good fit, and he's not traveling too far from Columbia, South Carolina. So.
Yeah, I love the pick for Carolina indeed. A little bit higher, I think, than a lot of people had J.C. Horn going, but certainly has the tools and looks the part. The Denver Broncos are the team that is currently listed on the clock here. They have just over a minute remaining to make their selection. We'll see if this is, in fact, the Denver Broncos pick, given all these Aaron Rodgers trade rumors and whatnot that we broke down and sort of broke off the top of the stream here tonight. Mel Kiper's saying Justin Fields is the best player available. You got a couple linemen up in there, including Rashawn Slater. I think he is a guy that if Denver is making this pick, that they might be inclined to look at boosting the offensive line a little more. Other than that, I'm not 100% sure what Denver would be going for here. I think the defense is still very solid, and there's not really a player, I guess, that jumps out to me who fits this area, if you will, that would truly be something the Broncos need. I mean, Surtain would be great. I think we both believe he will go to the Cowboys one pick later. We don't see Denver necessarily jumping on him here. And then, of course, there's the quarterback situation. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be a Bronco? We don't know officially yet. Everything seems to indicate as such. I guess only time will tell. And if he's not going to be a Bronco, does that mean they are going to take a Justin Fields here? Mac Jones is still on the board. He at one point everyone thought he was going to be a top 3 pick. So there are quarterback options here. I think it all just comes down to what John Elway and the Broncos are looking to do. The pick is in.
Yeah, I mean,
still hasn't been announced, though. Go ahead.
We still have a lot of big names on the board. I know Micah Parsons has been slipping, but he is a top 10 talent if he goes in the top 10. And then it's going to be very interesting to see where Jalen Waddle's teammate, Devonta Smith, ends up. Because if he doesn't go here, I think his next shot would be 12th with the Eagles. And then if he doesn't go there, he's going to slip into the 20s. And I like Devonta Smith. He deserved the Heisman. But his frame is going to get beat up like hell in the NFL. So I could see him falling. And more on that note, once again, we're all trending in the right direction for a Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Bill Belichick pairing. So, and I know we're not even near it yet, but at some point, I just remind you, I would like to talk Elijah Moore with you. Wow.
Pat Surtain, there it is. Broncos taking Patrick Surtain, quarterback out of Alabama at number 9 overall. The Cowboys will not be getting the corner they had hoped for. And we have back-to-back defensive backs off the board. I mean, to be honest with you, when you're looking at the players left on the board, I have no qualms with that pick whatsoever. But really, that is as Luke, who joined us a little bit earlier, just put in the chat, that is a major middle finger to the Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. And to be honest, I'm always here for that. But give us your thoughts on Surtain.
Like I said, him and Horn were my 2 best coming out. I had Horn a little higher than him. This is a bit of more of a scheme fit for him because he is more he can play different coverages better than Horn can. So him fitting in Denver is huge. They now have one of the better defensive backfields in the NFL with Justin Simmons coming back, and I don't know if he is re-signed with them or not, or he retired, but that's a good young defense when you think of guys like Bradley Chubb, and then that offense is built, whether it be with Aaron Rodgers or, I guess I have to say, I would think that I'm very confused about now, because if the Packers wanted Surtain, Surtain's a good player. I don't know who's picking. Like I know we started out with like the Aaron Rodgers news, but I just wonder if that was really like a pseudo pick for the Broncos. So
yeah, it's worth speculating about.
Packers,
I don't know.
Packers, yeah.
Right. Is Surtain going to be headed to Green Bay? I mean, again, I guess all we could do is kind of wait and see here. Denver's defense just got a little bit better. That is for sure. Now, the Broncos haven't been exactly the caliber that their Super Bowl defense was back a few years ago, the past few seasons. That being said, this is still an extremely talented unit. You're talking about having Jarrell Casey, who will be back from injury. Von Miller will be back. You've got guys in the secondary there as well, AJ Boye, among others. This is a legitimate pick here for the Broncos.
Yeah.
Not one that I think a lot of people saw them necessarily doing, but then again, the quarterback position, the offensive skill positions tend to get a little bit glamified, if you will, coming into the draft. And, as a result, you have guys who are projected number 1 or even 2 overall. The Penny Sewell being the big one here tonight, falling to pick number 7 because everyone becomes enamored with a skill player. So I like this pick for Denver. I think it's a good, it's a quality pick up there for sure, based on what was available at the time.
And well, either way, the 9th pick is now out of the way, so my brain has moved on to the 10th pick. The 9th pick, I don't know what happened, where it's going, but it's in the past now. Now I can focus on the 10th pick. I'm sorry.
I think like Justin's saying, like we don't know what to expect here. We don't know what's going to happen with the Packers, the Broncos, Aaron Rodgers, and the like. So just stay tuned and see, kind of is Surtain in fact a Bronco? If he is, I think neither of us have much of an issue with them beefing up their defense with a player of that caliber. Justin, I did want to jump to look at some betting quick. Now, I don't know if you have access to live odds as soon as the next few picks, but DraftKings right now does have picks 14, 15, and 16 listed with position props that would be drafted. So we look quick here. That would be the Vikings at 14, the Patriots at 15, and the Cardinals at 16. And you can feel free to kind of maybe chime in with what you think any of those teams might be doing. The Patriots at 15, though, wide receiver is far from the favored position to go. Quarterback at minus 167 favorite. And, I mean, do the Patriots go with a receiver in round 1? Maybe not. But this team definitely needs to be drafting a receiver pretty early on. They brought Cam Newton back. We don't know the whole situation with Jimmy Garoppolo. Obviously, the 49ers drafting Trey Lance tonight. That could pave the way to Jimmy G being on the way out. What do you think? Am I crazy to put a little on wide receiver there? Plus 450, number 15 overall to the Patriots, given the odds.
I don't want to bring you down or anything, but now that the Cowboys are up and Surtain is off the board, it would be such a Jerry Jones move. Devonta Smith, the fast wide receiver out of Alabama, after he drafted another fast wide receiver out of Oklahoma last year. But
hey, I don't mean to cut you off. The Cowboys are no longer on the clock. The Philadelphia Eagles are the new owners of pick number 10 overall. So Dallas trading back 2 spots to number 12. The Eagles jump up to number 10. Forget my betting question for now. What do we see the Eagles doing here as they jump up? Certainly a team with a lot of holes to fill. Carson Wentz no longer in Philadelphia. Man, it feels like I was just, on the streets of the city of brotherly love celebrating a Super Bowl win with a bunch of rabid Eagles fans. So how times have changed, but now they're drafting in the top 10. Where do you think they're going?
This is tough. This is very tough because the Eagles need a wide receiver. They haven't gotten a wide receiver in a long time, and Devonta Smith is just sitting there. I am going to go ahead and assume that's why they traded with the Cowboys, just to make sure they can get to Smith. But do they take a quarterback here? How comfortable do they feel with Jalen Hurts as their starting quarterback heading into next year? Do you go with Justin Fields or a Mac Jones? I have no idea what the Eagles were going to do. If the Eagles stayed at 12, I would have said for sure that they were going to go Devonta Smith, but I don't know if they're going to take a quarterback or not. Now, I kind of think it would be in their best interest to take Justin Fields right now.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one for sure. Now, would you take Justin Fields or would you take Mac Jones here? I don't know. Depends on kind of what skill set you're hoping to get, I think, out of a quarterback, because they do have, Mac Jones not going to be considered to be a dual threat in the way Fields would be, and you already have a dual threat in Jalen Hurts. This is an offseason of just a whole lot of question marks, I think, for the Eagles. After a season of disappointment, Wentz gets jettisoned, and really this team fell apart because of infighting. There was just a lack of cohesion. No one could get along. And that's how you go from being Super Bowl champs to now ultimately drafting in the top 10. I think there are a lot of ways that this could go. Now, of course, this pick has bounced around a lot here as far as the Eagles' first-round selection. They're actually showing that on the ESPN draft right now. They started out at number 6 overall, and that went to San Francisco, Miami, the Cowboys. I mean, they've been bouncing around here as far as where they're picking in the first round. Now they're only moving up 2 spots, but they must have their eye on someone here. The pick is in. Any last thoughts before we ultimately hear it?
It's got to be Devonta Smith. I think it's got to be Devonta Smith.
Okay. All right. Well, Devonta Smith is kind of a guy who, I guess based on how I see these players, I could have seen him falling to the Patriots at number 15. I know that sounds terrible for a guy who just won the Heisman Trophy, but I know he's trying to say he's putting the naysayers down and his size isn't a concern, but I don't know how you survive in the NFL at less than 170 pounds. He'll be lucky to ever, really get up to 175. I don't know where he's putting weight on. It's just not his body composition. So,
correct. Yeah,
man,
that's absolutely.
I fear for the kid almost in a way. Like I just don't want to see him get broken in half.
Well, I'll give him some credit. He lasted through an SEC season, which, if you look at it, it's the closest thing in college football to the NFL, I guess.
There it is. Thank you.
Is it Smith?
Love the SEC.
The SEC. Okay.
No, it hasn't been announced yet. I was just cheering you on for.
Got you. Yeah, I actually went to the University of South Carolina for my freshman year.
Oh, no way.
So, yeah. So the pick is in. It is Devonta Smith.
All right, you got it. Hit the nail on the head.
I was just looking at who they jumped. So they jumped. The Eagles were at 12, so they essentially jumped the Giants to get to 10. I think the more I thought about it, the only way that they were going to be able to take Smith was to jump in front of the Giants, because the Giants were going to take Smith. I think this puts the Giants in a tough situation. I mean, Devonta Smith, his actions speak for themselves. We've talked about his frame. I think that's a major. I don't think it's a little concern. I think that's a major concern for him. But he has the top end speed. He clearly had. I mean, had he not won the Heisman last year, should have just not gone on with the Heisman, because he was the epitome of what a Heisman season was. It'll be interesting to see how he matches up with more physical NFL defensive backs, because, like we said, his frame is so small. I think he'll take a little time to, kind of gel his way into the NFL game, but I think he'll be a Pro Bowler as long as he can stay healthy. When I think of him, I think of a Browns guy. I think of Denzel Ward is one of the best corners in the league. When he's healthy, he's 112 pounds, so he can never be healthy. So, but Devonta, it's a good pick. It's the best receiver left on the board, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, no, I would have to agree with you there. He was Mel's best available back at number 7 or something. So, I guess we'll see where it goes for the Eagles. Kid's got a whole lot of talent. He showed that at Alabama. At the same time, a very different situation that he's walking into here in terms of Eagles versus Crimson Tide loaded offense. Speaking of offense, speaking of points, speaking of, all the good things that fantasy football players know and love. It looks like we are ready to have the coach, Kevin Schroeder, join us on this here fine program. Coach, welcome to the FlurrySports 2021 NFL Draft Stream. We're hoping you might be able to talk a little fantasy football with us here based on what we've seen these first few picks and just your predictions for going forward after the draft. How are you doing tonight, my man?
Yeah, doing well. I'm kind of on pins and needles here. I've got can you guys hear me?
We sure can.
Yeah.
You are here.
All right, good. Yeah, I'm a little on pins and needles. I've got my Aaron Rodgers bobblehead here behind me that I'm hoping is still going to be there it is, over my shoulder there.
There it is.
Hoping it's still going to be same uniform here after this is all said and done. But yeah, it's been an interesting draft so far. Justin Fields is still out there,
Bears traded up.
and that might be the
just
home
seeing
of
that now,
Justin
too.
Fields.
Yeah,
So,
Bears traded up. Yeah, so it looks like the perfect time to have you on, Coach, because it looks like one of the quarterbacks is going to come off the board.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Speaking
and,
of teams who need a quarterback, there you go. So the Bears have traded up to pick number 11 overall. The Giants were a team that was linked to Devontae Smith. Well, he's no longer there for them at the pick after the Eagles leapfrogged them. So we got a lot of movement here going on at this point in the draft. Good for business, man. Keeps things exciting. Coach, you mentioned Justin Fields. Mac Jones is still out there as well. Kyle Trask maybe going a little earlier than people think out of Florida. I don't know. We saw Kyle Pitts go. Wouldn't that be something? In terms of looking at the Bears and what they offer, even from a fantasy perspective, you can give us your prediction here for who you think they might go with too. But which of those three quarterbacks might be the best fit in your opinion, or help their fantasy weapons the most? Of which there are some names on that offense for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I would think if Justin Fields, if they have the chance to take him here, Big Ten guy, Midwestern guy, I think they'd be fools not to take him at this point, considering their quarterback history there, and hopefully he can break the Ohio State quarterback curse here as well for them, or perhaps not. I'm a Packers fan, so that's where my allegiances lie there. But yeah, I think if they get the chance to take Fields here, I think they'd be fools not to at this point. I'm actually kind of surprised he's still on the clock or still on the board right now.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting choice that the Bears have to make for sure. The quarterbacks are always the position that gets super hyped up in the pre-draft coverage, and there's always going to be a guy or two that falls. And right now it's Fields and also Mac Jones. And you can debate even going back closer to the end of the college football season were either of those guys considered to be top 5, top 10 picks, but certainly coming into the draft, they both were, especially Mac Jones. So it's certainly a surprise to see him here still on the board. Almost to me, though, Mac Jones kind of feels like maybe Nick Foles 2.0. Is that too harsh? I don't know. But the Bears just kind of had that experience, I think, if you will. Wouldn't be shocked on this end either to see them roll the dice on a dual threat like Justin Fields. Obviously, Matt Nagy's offense, explosive. And we saw it work. It's just a question of when can they get back to that point, I think. Let's see this pick, Coach, and then I got to ask you a little more about Devontae Smith and some other guys here too. But looks like the Bears fans are dancing around.
I'd be shocked. I'd be shocked here if it wasn't Fields.
Yeah.
All right, so we're all thinking it's probably Fields. Okay. Well, there could be some drastic quarterback changes in the NFC North if that Aaron Rodgers thing definitely does go through. Who knows? But let's see what we got here with the Bears.
I just want to say before we get to the Bears pick, I'm looking at the details of the trade. It looks like they traded next year's one to the Giants, which is, hey, bravo to the Giants. That is huge. But the Bears better get this one right, because last time they traded up, they got Mitchell Trubisky, and we all saw how that happened. He's an Ohio guy. I feel bad for Mitchell, but we'll see. They better get this one right because they're giving away a year of another year's draft. So they better get this right. if it's Ian, I'm looking at some of the comments. If it's Ian Book or Kyle Trask, I literally will fall out of my chair.
Yeah, that's huge that you saw that, Justin. So they are punting next year's first rounder too. Like you said, a huge get for the Giants. Roger Goodell's talking about draft-a-thon or something right now. Maybe he's going to announce the pick sometime soon. But as we all hold our collective breaths here.
So for the Giants in this trade, this is a great trade for Dave Gettleman. Great trade. You trade back 9 spots and you get next year's first. Considering even if they do take a rookie quarterback, they still should probably be towards the bottom of the league. So that's good for them. But I believe the pick is it.
It is, and it's Fields.
Yeah,
Justin Fields.
Yeah, that's I hope the Bears get it right. I was not impressed with Fields during most of the Big Ten season, but what he did against Clemson, that showed me that he is a prior. Hopefully he breaks the Ohio State quarterback curse, but it's a good pick. So anything for you, Coach?
Yeah, so I'm just kind of looking at we've had 4 quarterbacks drafted at this point. For me, if I were ranking them from a fantasy perspective for next year, I would probably take Fields, possibly number 1, just because he's going to have that dual threat capability where he's going to put up some stats with his legs, where the transition might be a little slower for some of the other guys that depend on their passing stats a little bit more. But I think Trevor Lawrence is set up in a great spot there. He's got some decent weapons there to work with. Between Chark and Chenault and also they signed Marvin Jones this offseason. So that's he's got some weapons. Zach Wilson.
They should have a pretty good wide receiver room this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's set up well for going forward. Zach Wilson, going into New York, I think you guys were talking about this about New York's a whole different ball game than Provo, Utah, where you're looking at
just a little. Not my area of New York either. Not up here.
Yeah. I think you're looking at Provo. I get the vibe; it's more of like a family community. Whereas New York, it's if you're not producing, you might be looking for a job, a la Sam Darnold. So, I think he's rolling in. He's confident. He's got a lot of moxie to him. I think Justin, you said a little Brett Favre in his game, and I think that's I've seen that Baker Mayfield comparisons for him too. So I think that bodes well for him. But I think as far as supporting cast, that's going to be the Jets don't offer quite as much as what you're looking at with the Bears or the Jaguars. And then as far as looking at Trey Lance, they're going into San Francisco. That's a beautiful spot. He's got Deebo Samuel. He's got George Kittle. He's got Brandon Ayuk. I mean, that's a pretty nice collection. And then the running backs as well there. So, actually, now that I think about it, my initial thought was maybe Fields with the running ability. Trey Lance has that too. And that offense might just be plug and play. He might be a top QB1 from week 1 next year.
Do you think he would be starting over Garoppolo if Jimmy G's there? Just as a follow-up question. Then I got some stuff I need to say here.
Yeah, assuming he wins the starting job in fantasy, I mean, if he wins the starting job, I think with that dual threat capability, I mean, if you're adding that 40 to 60 yards rushing, that's 4 to 6 points a week. And, right there you have the makings of a nice start to a week. So, if he wins the starting job, I'd say he's a QB1 in fantasy.
Yeah, and you said about Deebo, and he's got good weapons. Maybe his best weapon is Kyle Shanahan. So, that perfect spot for him. I like that too.
100% agree. Okay, so number 1, I've been saying for a little while, I like what the Giants are doing. Don't sleep on the Giants. They damn near win the division last year. We can talk about how it was a terrible division. You know what? They were an Eagles, whatever they did there on that last Sunday of the season away from pulling it off. So landing a second first rounder in next year's draft, like Justin said already, this is huge, huge for the Giants. And I'm curious to see what they do here, trading back in this year's first round too, signing Kenny Galladay. A lot of good stuff going on there in New York. We'll definitely be finding out, I think, pretty sooner than later whether or not Daniel Jones is the real deal. And they have the defense as well. All right, we're not to the Giants right now. So going back to the Bears here, they did just sign Andy Dalton in the offseason. And so now is Justin Fields a day one starter? Like, what are we doing here? This is almost, to me, it's not the second overall pick or whatever that Mitchell Trubisky was. Almost like the same exact thing that happened that year, though. They paid Mike Glennon a ton of money. They did the same thing with Andy Dalton this offseason. And now we got Justin Fields stepping in. They're trading up to draft him, trading away a first rounder next year. I don't know, guys. Am I crazy to say, like, WTF to, like, every Bears front office person? Like, what is going on here?
You just keep saying things in my head. I keep going through them, and I'm like, what are they doing here? This is exactly what they did with Trubisky and Glennon. It's the exact
how soon
same
we
thing.
forget, though.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I think that with Dalton, I think Dalton might get a few starts out of the gate just because Justin Fields might take him a little bit. I do think Garoppolo, as long as he's still in San Fran, will probably get a few starts out of the gate at least, especially with Trey coming from FCS school. It's it's a big step up in competition for guys that play in the SEC, right? So now you're looking at moving up 2 rungs almost. One other guy I want to just throw out there real quick is Kyle Pitts. I think he is.
He good.
Is he Hall of Fame? Caliber. I think we're talking about a all-time tight end here, where I think his physique, if he stays healthy, which is always a big if, but as long as he can stay healthy, I think we're looking at one of the all-time greats at tight end. As far as the athleticism that he's bringing out on the field, he's got some amazing skills.
Yeah, I know we kind of said it at the beginning when Pitts was drafted. To me, he was the best player in this draft. And he almost reminds me, and I guess this is kind of a fantasy, it would kind of be like that. He almost reminds me of a Calvin Johnson. Like the way Calvin Johnson was able to control the game as a receiver, I think Kyle Pitts is like that as a tight end. And I agree completely. I think next year he'll be one of the top 3 tight ends in the league.
Yeah, and I know there's a learning curve with tight ends too, but I just as far as what he brings to the table, I think we're looking at he's a tight end 1 out the gate in fantasy, I believe. I think, and the upside's just going to be from there.
Yeah, that offense is definitely loaded now, so it's going to be interesting to see. I think who Matt Ryan is looking to, how quickly Pitts ascends up the target ladder there. Back to the draft here real quick. The Cowboys did just take Micah Parsons at number 12 overall. So the corner that they hoped for was not there. Dallas does, however, make a great pick in terms of giving that horrendous defense a bit of a boost here as we look ahead to 2021. But we got the fantasy coach here still, so we got to keep talking a little offense while he is still kind enough to grace us with his presence. Coach, I want to get your thoughts on Devontae Smith in Philadelphia. We talked about the concerns just with his size and whatnot. Now, the Eagles did draft Jalen Reagor last year, but this is a passing game relatively void of weapons. Is Alshon Jeffrey still a thing? I'm not even sure. That's about how relevant he is. So what do we see here with Smith in Philly? And, of course, you got Dallas Goedert, who really stepped up at tight end last year. And you got Ertz still there in the fold as well, at least for now.
Yeah, so I'm just pulling up their depth chart to see. Last year, here's a team that down the stretch, they were counting on Greg Ward to be one of their top receivers with Reagor out. Travis Fulgham was another guy there that stepped up last year. I think Devontae Smith has the potential to walk in there and be a day one starter. To watch him last year was just amazing. In the national title game, he had the best national title game ever, and then he was out at halftime. And it was, I mean,
It was insane. It was insane.
Was it like 260 yards and 3 touchdowns or something? It was just nuts.
It was insane because I guess I'm kind of an Ohio State fan. Literally every time he touched the ball in that first half, it was like for 25 yards, and there was nothing they could do about it. It was insane.
Yeah, and I think with Jalen Hurts there, he showed a propensity that he would lock onto receivers a little bit last year. And towards the end of the year, he was getting guys their numbers and getting them targets. So I think Jalen Smith. Somebody mentioned earlier though that he's, I think 167 pounds. Is that what his listed weight? What is like 175's listed weight? But I heard he was like 167.
He weighed in at 168, I believe.
Yeah, I mean that's he's going to have to put a little bulk on, I would think. That's pretty tiny to get 16 games in the NFL, 17 games now in the NFL. But I think he's an impact player when he's on the field. It's just going to be a question of will he be durable? And I think if he can avoid the big hits, he will. But when he's that small, there's going to be some injury concerns, I would think.
Yeah, could not agree more. I don't know how he lasts. I really don't. Like I said to Justin, I just don't want to see this kid get split completely in half by like a hard charging linebacker or something like a Micah Parsons, who the Cowboys just drafted, and he's going to see him twice a year. So I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see there for sure. Justin, did you have a specific fantasy question of choice, fantasy football for the coach based on who we've seen drafted so far? Or should I fire at him with some more long-term deep dynasty prognosis here? Go ahead.
I definitely have one. But first, I feel bad for Devonta Smith because out of all the good receivers or the top receivers in this draft, I think he's by far in the worst position in Philadelphia. I mean, Cincinnati at least has Joe Burrow. We don't even know if Jalen Hurts can play quarterback at the NFL necessarily, but so that's just interesting to me. But yeah, coach. So Mac Jones is still free falling, which doesn't surprise me. I think he makes it to the Patriots at 15, and I think they take him. Fantasy wise, A, do you even have him coming in as a day one starter, or and B, if so or if not so, what would we be looking at stats wise for him? Because I think it's a little skewed because he obviously played with Najee Harris and Devonta Smith at Alabama. So it's better than some NFL offenses. So, but I guess what would we just be looking at with Mac Jones? Because I think it's very interesting.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned earlier, the rookie quarterbacks I really like are the athletic guys, the guys that'll get a nice baseline. And really, fantasy, you're really looking for those mobile quarterbacks these days, and a lot of the top quarterbacks really are. You get a few that are, Matt Ryan, Tom Brady. When you think of the guys that are a little bit more pocket and don't really run, and with Mac Jones, he'll run a little bit, but I don't see him really putting up the dual threat type of the rushing yardage there. And Cam Newton is in New England for better or for worse. I do think that if Mac Jones ends up in New England, which I definitely agree, I think he does. I think that Cam Newton is going to probably be the starter for at least the first probably half of the season, barring injury, before Mac Jones would make an appearance. I probably would take a wait and see approach with Mac Jones. He's maybe in a deeper league. If you're in a 2 quarterback league, you might take a flyer on him. But I'm definitely more excited about the other guys that we've talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking at Dynasty, Coach, we've got questions about Aaron Rodgers. We have got maybe not necessarily certain that Jimmy Garoppolo is still going to be in San Francisco. what are the Patriots going to do here at pick 15? We're kind of, I think, all starting to trend towards Mac Jones is probably going to get there. What teams, any players that you're looking to buy low, sell high on, based on what we've seen so far, and also all just these rumors that are flying around? Is there a team that you really see, or a player's value already in the league, who really could take a hit or get a boost based on what has happened and what you maybe expect to happen here the rest of tonight, and also just the NFL draft here throughout the weekend?
Well, that's a tough question. There's a lot of different.
I threw a lot at you. I didn't know how I wanted to ask it. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm new to this whole hosted thing. I just host a NASCAR podcast every week. So
I got to quote the Big Lebowski. There's a lot of ins and outs on that one.
just the floor is yours. How about that?
I mean, obviously, if Aaron Rodgers does end up in Denver, I mean, that's just a huge boost for Sutton, Judy, Noah Fant as well. I think that'd be a huge boost for them. Obviously, Devontae Adams stock would drop, although he'd still be the alpha there in Green Bay. I wrote a couple weeks back here before the draft, kind of a buy low guy that I was targeting. Like the ultimate buy low right now is Deshaun Watson. I mean, you can get him for pennies on the dollar if you think he's going to play this year, and even if you have a decent backup, or he might be worth getting on the cheap. Another guy that I really liked as a buy low was Joe Burrow, and now adding Jamar Chase to that. He's got a loaded set of wide receivers there as well. I think somebody mentioned
if he can stay healthy.
If he can stay healthy, yeah. And that's
neither of us like that pick a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah.
In case you couldn't tell by our reactions.
Yeah, no, it seems like Sewell was going to be the guy the whole time, and then it seems like the buzz changed over the last couple of weeks, and I just think it was Joe Burrow had the sway there, where I think he wanted his teammate, and he got his teammate. So,
I mean, would you say that Joe Burrow's fantasy stock maybe went up a round or two by them grabbing Jamar Chase for him? Because I mean, obviously it's not going to keep him healthy, but it's going to give him someone to throw to.
Yeah, I think that right now Joe Burrow is a QB1 next year. I think you can get him still for a decent price. Coming off his injury, I think Jamar Chase does nothing but help him. From what I understood about this draft, it's a very deep wide receiver draft, but I also understand it's a very deep tackle draft as well. So it's kind of what I was reading was that Cincinnati might come back with a tackle here in the next round, and that they felt they were better off taking Chase and then coming back with a tackle. They felt that there was that was the way to play that, but. Yeah, I think definitely as far as, rookie wide receivers, you're looking at Jamar Chase. I think we'll see where the running backs shake down. But if you're in a straight up fantasy football league, just a annual league, Chase has a good shot at being a top pick. He could, depending on where Najee Harris and Travis Etienne end up, you could be looking at the number one pick as far as a rookie is concerned.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out for sure. What else you got, Justin?
You got 13th pick is in.
Yeah, it is indeed in. The Los Angeles Chargers, speaking of those tackles, Coach, taking Rashad Slater out of Northwestern. He's one of two Northwestern Wildcats projected to go in the first round. The other, of course, being Greg Newsome, the second, the standout corner.
We're praying that he lasts till 26.
Yeah, when I wrote my Titans mock draft article, I said that you really should be taking him there. So sorry, Justin, to burst your bubble, but the Titans do need a corner in a bad way. So hopefully they don't screw that up. Let's see here. So obviously this is big for the Chargers in terms of protecting Justin Herbert, who balled out in his rookie year. I think he's another one of those players who a lot of people are expecting a strong second season out of. Was last year too good to be true from fantasy coaches? I know we got to get you off of here because we've got some other people lined up soon, and we don't want to just consume your entire evening. But Justin Herbert, any thoughts there on the Chargers and what they have got coming? Not a great team on the field, but they did have a lot of fantasy value last year, and that was even with Austin Eckler not necessarily making the impact that a lot of people had hoped.
Yeah, I think taking Slater here is going to shore up their offensive line. Herbert's coming off of one of the best rookie seasons by a quarterback ever, looking at right now coming into next year, you get the offensive line shored up. We'll see what they do with the rest of the draft, but I think you're probably looking at depending on how the Aaron Rodgers deal shakes down. I would say you're probably looking at with Herbert a top 5 quarterback next year, and even higher in Dynasty. I'd say you're probably looking at a top 3 quarterback in Dynasty.
I think
right there.
I think I speak for all. I speak for all of us when we look at the Chargers. This is what Cincinnati should have done by taking Sewell. But Carolina, or not Carolina, the Chargers are the ones who actually did it. So I just think I wish Cincinnati would have done that because I think we'll be easily able to see this year, in fantasy and on the field, which process worked out better.
Yeah, and especially when you have your franchise quarterback, you got to protect them. You got to keep them on the field, right? The old saying goes, the number one ability is availability, so you got to keep them on the field. So
it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. I think Slater has a lot of talent, though, and so I like that pick for the Chargers a lot. So, we've been talking about whether you build inside out or outside in. Bengals and Chargers taking different approaches to Justin's point. Guess we'll find out who wins out because both have talent, I think, around the quarterbacks within the offense, and both certainly could have stood to upgrade their lines coming into this draft. Coach, who's one other guy, whether he's going tonight, second round, I mean, he could be projected anywhere. Any rookie prospect in this draft, you're keeping an eye on. You want to know where he lands. And maybe it doesn't even matter based on fit. He either is going to be great in fantasy next year right away, or he has sleeper potential. Who's your guy? Who are you watching?
So out of the box, I'm a running back guy in fantasy football. I'm always the guy that hoards running backs. I always want to have as many running backs stashed away as possible. And Najee Harris for me is the guy I want to see where he ends up.
Thank
if
you.
He's going to show up and be a 1A.
It's Pittsburgh. It's Pittsburgh. He's going to Pittsburgh.
And if he ends up in Pittsburgh, I mean, I think that bodes well for him. He's probably going to step in and automatically be, the 1A. He'll probably get 15 to 18 touches a week. And I mean, ideally, I think they'd like to scale back James Conner's workload, and I think he would step in, and be the starter right off the bat there.
Yeah, I think if Najee Harris goes to Pittsburgh, I think he's a perennial 1,000-yard rushing running back, and he will probably get that in his rookie season as well. Coach, I did want to ask you about one player, and this also kind of brings up your hat. I know we talk about Jamar Chase and all the young, like the big-time, big-name wide receivers. As we get later in the draft, and as I've kind of followed, I think the Browns might end up taking a receiver. So I'm going to give you one name, and I just want to know what you think about him. Elijah Moore out of wide receiver, or out of Ole Miss, because, I mean, he caught over 200 balls last year. I think he could be a 7, 8, 9 catch a game guy. But what's your take on Elijah Moore?
Yeah, so, ending up in Cleveland. So really, I'm always hesitant with where I put players in fantasy football before the draft. It's always tough to say because depending on where they end up, they could be a number 1 or number 2 on a team, or they could come in and barely see the field. I like Moore. The only thing I live in Minnesota, and I think of the last Ole Miss wide receiver that was can't miss was Laquan Treadwell, and I really thought he was going to be good in the NFL, and he was just kind of buried on the depth chart for the Vikings. But I think and you said him if he ends up in Cleveland, kind of what I would think of him.
Yeah, I mean, personally, if we get to 26, and I think if the Browns are going to go with wide receiver, I prefer they go with Terrace Marshall out of LSU. But I wouldn't hate. I think he could slide right in, play in the slot in between Beckham and Landry, or put Landry and him in the slot, and then have Beckham and Higgins on the outside with your 3 Hall of Fame tight ends for whatever reason that we have. But yeah, I think he could really excel in Cleveland.
Yeah, and the only thing I'd be worried about from a fantasy perspective is I'd like him a little bit more in like a dynasty type, just because that's a lot of mouths to feed, and typically, unless you're going deep on rosters, I prefer to get a guy that's 1 or 2, but with Landry and Beckham, you're looking at between the two of them, 16 to 20 targets pretty much every week there. And then towards the end of the year too, last year, Austin Hooper was starting to get some, so right there, let's say you give him 5 targets, that's 25 targets right there. And then it's not a whole lot left for anyone else right out of the gate. But
I guess I do have one more question then before I guess to let you go. What do you think about
go quick here because we got trade action, so.
Okay, go with the trade action. This can always be answered later. Go ahead. Go with the trade action.
All right. So the Jets have traded with the Vikings for pick number 14. New York moving up from their 23rd overall selection here in round 1. They're drafting at number 14 overall now. Of course, this is their second pick of the draft. First team to make 2 picks. They drafted Zach Wilson as their quarterback heir apparent. And the Jets have now also taken
Newsome.
Well, we're waiting on it.
Oh, yeah. That's just my guess.
Let's see here.
Oh, wow.
Right.
AVT.
AVG, yeah. Does anyone know how to pronounce this guy's name? Elijah Vera Tucker.
Elijah Vera Tucker.
Yeah, Elijah. There we go. So they're beefing up the offensive line to protect their young quarterback, Zach Wilson. Always good stuff here. Now, let's see here. We're at pick 14. We got the end of this first portion of the stream coming up. Coach, thank you so much for all of your insight, as you always do. We look forward to more from you here post-draft throughout camps and getting into the NFL and fantasy football season. So always a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much.
Thanks, fellas.
Yeah, and I'm hoping you could teach me how to play fantasy football at some point. So
for sure, we should do a
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
there you
awesome.
go. Justin has got the football analysis down. He's got the betting down. We got to get him on the fantasy train here too, because
fantasy is nothing.
So. Thank you, Coach. We will talk to you later. And all right, so we've had a lot go down here, Justin, as we look at the last few picks in this draft. Cowboys, to recap quickly here, let me pull up the tracker. Cowboys taking Micah Parsons as they traded back a couple spots once Surtain was off the board. Still benefiting their defense there with the 12th overall pick. The Chargers going with Rashawn Slater, beefing up that offensive line. Now the Jets also taking a lineman, Elijah Vera Tucker, off the board, number 14, out of USC. The second Pac-12 player to go in this draft behind Sewell, who went to the Lions back at number 7. So a couple of big boys off the board here from the Pac-12. Jets are making moves, man. I don't know what else to say. They're building. They are building. They're coming. 2 picks here in the first 16. Any more reaction to this one from you?
This is showing me that there's going to be. I think there's going to be a big drop off in offensive linemen. Personally, I thought it was obviously Sewell, then Rashawn Slater and Elijah Vera Tucker, who I've heard murmurs about that can basically play any position on the line, even tackle if they needed him to move outside. The next highest rated, offensive lineman on most people's boards, I would assume, is Christian Darrisaw. And looking at the next couple of picks, unless the Patriots do something crazy and don't take Mac Jones and they take Darrisaw, but Darrisaw could drop pretty far. And obviously, speaking of the Patriots, I would be just saying it's got to be Mac Jones, right? I mean, it has to be. I don't know. I don't know where there's threat.
They've been panning the camera to him and all kinds of stuff. I think he had a cell phone in hand. So Roger Goodell's talking about draft-a-thon again, but you got to believe that is the direction New England's going, having Mac Jones fall to them here at number 15.
Of course, that just happens to New England. 2 years after the greatest quarterback ever just leaves them, one of the top 5 quarterbacks from the draft falls to them at 15 when they were all supposed to be gone by 9. So that's just great. That's just great. They're going to have Mac Jones. The Steelers are going to have Najee Harris, and the Ravens are going to be throwing to Terrace Marshall and Rashad Bateman, and my life will be a living hell again, just like it was for the previous 20 years of Browns football. But no, I think I actually really like the Jets move up to protect Zach Wilson. If you're going to take him number 2, you want him to be your man. Like I said, ABT was my third best offensive lineman on the board. I think he could switch in between guards, and he can even play center if he needs to. And with Mekhi Becton already, got the stronghold there at the left tackle for the Jets. Building once again, we keep bringing this up, but the Jets shockingly seem to be doing this right and building it inside out, which is not what I thought. Yeah, not what I thought the Jets would do.
Don't be hating on my Jets. I'm telling you, Joe Douglas, this is a man with a plan right here. Speaking of men with plans, we are going to be turning over main hosting duties. We might still be popping in and out. At least I know for a fact I'll be back on this at some point. Justin, you might be as well. But Luke is one of those who is going to be taking over as a flagship host, so I can go eat some food. Didn't want to do that on air. Luke is with us here though now as well. He's back. Maybe looks, he's in a little bit lighter part of the room, so maybe the Aaron Rodgers fret or sadness is starting to wane a little bit. It still hasn't been officially announced yet. But
I'm hopping on Luke's idea and the fact that if you just keep saying it, it's going to happen. Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Packer. Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Packer on opening day next year. I'm all in on this with Luke.
Yeah, that's what I like to hear, Justin. We need to stick together. Aaron Rodgers isn't going anywhere. 12 will be with Green Bay for his career. But I'm not here to talk about Aaron Rodgers right now. I'm here to talk Mac Jones. Mac Jones to the Patriots. Did you guys see that there's been one Pro Bowler that New England has drafted since 2015, and that was their punter last year? I feel like that trend is not going to change with Mac Jones. I don't know. I'm not impressed with Mac Jones. It's pretty easy to make a name for yourself when you can throw to Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, and have Najee Harris running and have the greatest college coach of all time. Mac Jones screams Tom Brady to me. Not athletic. Maybe if they get an offensive line around him, he'll be able to produce a little bit. But I think he's a game manager. He'll probably sit behind Cam Newton for a little bit. But once Cam Newton goes down with that inevitable injury, it's the Mac Jones show in New England.
Yeah. Luke, I have a feeling we're going to become very good friends. Everything you just said about Mac Jones have been things that I've been repeating to anyone that will listen to me for the past couple of months. Yeah, it's really, really damn easy to throw 18 touchdowns to a guy that's having that offense at Alabama was probably one of the best offenses in the history of college football. But I'm not going to hate on the pick because he fell to Bill Belichick, and whatever happens, that's on Belichick. But it's a good pick for them. I wonder where they're going in the future because I just don't see Mac Jones being that next guy that you could just rely on. He's not Tom Brady, but he's usable, and but yeah, I agree, Luke, completely. He's not the guy that is going to lead New England back to Super Bowl after Super Bowl after Super Bowl. So yeah.
You guys are a little more, I think, pessimistic on him than I am. Maybe that's a little SEC bias in me, and seeing some of the throws that he did make. We can definitely talk about how he had so much talent around him at Alabama. That's for sure. There were some good plays made, though, I think. Now, was Mac Jones being talked about as a first half of the first round pick as recently as even coming down the stretch of the college football season? No, he kind of played his way into that. Maybe some quarterback hype played his way into that. Bill Belichick now has options, though, right? You've got Cam Newton re-signed. You've got Mac Jones. You got a lot of guys coming back on defense. People forget that so many of New England's star defensive players just opted out last year before the season even started. Maybe they don't need more than a game manager. Now, which one of these guys is the better game manager at this point remains to be seen. But I think, like Justin said, I can't hate on the pick too much. The Arizona Cardinals pick is in here at number 16. Luke, did you need to get going?
I'll hop off and get the other stream ready, and I'll let you guys talk about the pick here. All right. Hopefully you guys hop on when we're on stream. We'll get you on. So
yeah,
peace.
We'll see you later, Luke. Thank you, sir. So the Cardinals have just taken
Newsome.
Taken here. No, Zaven Collins out of Tulsa. So the Cardinals are going with a linebacker here. Is this Jake Senholz I see waiting in the wings, trying to get on here and talk a little before we end the first half of the show? There he is.
What's up, boys?
What are you guessing? It's like our fifth or sixth guest. I feel like we're killing it. Only 16 picks in. Jake, how are you? As the Cardinals just drafted a linebacker, definitely needed to improve that defense. What do you got for us? Your reactions to the first half of round one? This pick. What say you?
I'm about to hop on with Luke, so I'm going to be short here and let you guys wrap up. However, I think that you guys had a fantastic first half of the drafts here. You got to talk about two different Jets picks. Obviously, Luke and I are going to eagerly await what's going to happen with the Packers. But all I want to do is hop on and say my piece about Mac Jones real quick. I joined the lobby at the end, and I heard you mentioned a little bit of the pessimistic talk there. Look, I don't think Mac Jones is Tom Brady, will be Tom Brady. I don't think they need him to win 6 Super Bowls. I think you get this guy to 1 Super Bowl, 2 Super Bowls over the next 10, 12 years, whatever. That's going to be considered a success. I think, like you said, he's able to make some plays. He's able to place the ball very well, which is something that Cam Newton cannot do, hasn't been able to do for years now. So, like you said, maybe we see a little bit of dual action here until Mac Jones is ready to take over as a full-time starter. However, we've seen it's the Patriots, it's Bill Belichick. We've seen him do it with backup quality guys. We've seen him win with Jacoby Brissett, with Ryan Mallett types. Go on down the list of backup quarterbacks he's had success with. I think Mac Jones is better than all of those guys. I think if you give him time to develop and he really buys in with the Patriots, you're right. I don't think he's going to be, Super Bowl year after year after year, 6 championships. However, I don't think that's maybe the goal this far into Bill Belichick's career. I don't think he's expecting to get back to 6 more. If he could get 1 or 2 more tucked under his belt before he rides off into the sunset, prove that he can do it post Brady era as well. I think that's kind of his goal. And I think Mac Jones is more than capable of getting him there. So that's my piece on Jones.
Perfect, Jake.
Yeah,
go ahead, Justin, real quick.
I agree. I can't take another 15, 10 years of the Patriots being good. So it's how I tell myself and trick myself into thinking that this isn't a good pick, because like I said, he fell to them. He's more than capable of, he basically game managed the professional offense at Alabama. So yeah, I agree with you. He's going to turn out and be what he is. But I just wish the Patriots would keep going on with no quarterbacks ever. So, but that's just me.
Right. Like, you wish Cam Newton was the long-term answer there, a couple more missed playoffs. But, look, Last thing I'll say is I think Mac Jones, like you said, game manager. I think maybe that's what he is right now, but I think he has a chance to develop into a little bit more. You got the comparisons to Matty Ice down in Atlanta. He started off as just a fine, good quarterback, and then eventually turned into an MVP caliber type quarterback. Don't know if Mac Jones is ever going to, reach that level. I don't know if they need him to with the way that Bill Belichick coaches and they construct their teams. And like you said, final point, he was there at 15, man. They didn't trade up to 9, 10, whatever, grab him, give anything away. He's there at 15. You have to take this guy. I think all in all, it's a win for the 6-time world champion Patriots. So if you got anything else, or otherwise I'll hop off, get ready with Luke.
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is I think it's an interesting if you could place a bet to see who would have a better career in the NFL, Devonta Smith or Mac Jones. I think the tides would turn towards Mac Jones because we've seen about Devonta Smith's frame, and a guy like Mac Jones, just in a system that's built for him to work, I think he might end up having a better career than Devonta Smith, unfortunately, but it just is what it is.
And the longevity too. I mean, Mac Jones could muster together quite a long career, even if it's not with the Patriots the whole time. So yeah, I would be inclined to agree with you there. But I know we've talked Mac Jones through a couple picks here. So Henry, we'll let you recap Cardinals and whatever else, and I will be back on in just a little bit. So thanks, boys.
Sounds good. We will see you soon, Jake, as he and Luke will be taking over hosting duties. So Zaven Collins kind of going a little bit earlier, I think, than a lot of people had him to the Cardinals here at number 16 overall, but certainly a welcome move for them as they look to boost their defense. Justin, we got to bounce because the Raiders are on the clock, and I believe the pick might already actually be in. This starts the second half of round 1. It has been a pleasure, my man. Thank you for joining me here tonight, co-hosting here the first half of the FlurrySports NFL Draft live stream. I
told you I was gonna wear my Mississippi State hat. I am. I don't think you said anything about it the whole time, so I didn't think you knew. I really don't like Mississippi State. You better not. I like baseball hats, so
I just kind of ignored it because we own the SIP right here. We won the Egg Bowl, 2020 Egg Bowl champs, Ole Miss, baby.
We could talk Ole Miss at a different time, but yes, this was awesome. I think we covered everything that maybe either surprised us or didn't. And like I said, I'll probably make an appearance with Luke and Jake because the Browns are picking at 26. But then again, I'm so interested. I'm more interested in next year, so I could be asleep. I don't know. But yeah, man, it's been awesome. I look forward to working with you more in the future, and I think we did a really good job.
Yeah, you got it, my man. So we'll catch up with you more here going forward. So turning it over here to Luke and Jake. And like we said, you'll probably see us pop up here once again at some point. The FlurrySports NFL Draft coverage continues in just a moment.